Hi there, I'm Jen Rice, and before I jump into today's topic, which has to do a lot with really combating fatigue, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, I actually personally went through some health issues that brought me to a functional medicine doctor, and she placed me on a 21-day really new eating plan and new way of eating to decrease inflammation. So before I get into the inflammation part, I wanted to, first of all, Hurricane Harvey. So thinking of everyone in Texas and surrounding. I'm here in Southwest Florida. We're having a ton of rain, but it's nothing like what you guys are going through. Our thoughts are definitely with you. Thinking of you. I do have some family in the area that I've been in contact with and some old friends, and they seems to be okay where they are. Hoping the same for others. Secondly, we're having a ton of flooding here in Southwest Florida, which I have some coworkers and friends that have been shooting pictures of the amount of flooding that's going on in their area. Seems to be sort of in that Cape Coral, Florida, also downtown Naples even. I know a lot of my friends are out getting sandbags and doing all kinds of things like this to prevent loss of property and things really that they've worked really hard for. So I'm thinking of you today. I feel thankful that I can come in here and talk a little bit about something kind of off the subject of anything weather-wise, but certainly has to do with fatigue, stress, and how we deal with these things. So I wanted to share a little bit, since I've been on this journey myself with health improvement. I wanted to share that there's a lot of inflammatory biomarkers that happen in our circulation, which can lead to cardiac events. So we're talking about major heart attacks, clogged arteries. Obviously, extreme things like that would be considered an emergency. Hey, Suzanne, thanks for being here. I hope you're doing great out there. You're probably avoiding all this crazy weather where you are, but we're certainly thinking of others who aren't. So the inflammatory biomarkers that happen in our blood vessels can actually be a result of the inflammation that goes on throughout our GI system. So really the foods we eat. Now, ever since I was little, I've always heard this is bad for you, that's bad for you, don't eat that, it's greasy, it'll clog your arteries, yada yada. But what are really the 8 main foods that we should be really thinking about and limiting through our diet? And these are things that I've limited in the past. So I had to go 21 days, and I never thought I would make it. In fact, when the doctor told me, you should eliminate coffee and alcohol, there were a lot of other things on the list, but coffee and alcohol were rotating in my brain like, oh my goodness, that's impossible, that's impossible. And she said to me, is that going to be an issue? I said, well, it's not going to be easy. But I'll figure it out. So I've actually gone over 3 weeks now. It'll be, I think, 5 weeks this Wednesday of this Renew health plan that they recommended. And I'm happy to share that with anyone if you'd like to private message me. I can also provide a little bit more content if it seems like the comments are showing that people want to hear more about the exact sort of new food plan. But the 8 foods to avoid in order to, and I want to show you guys this great graphic, because this is of an artery, right? And so when there's a little bit of inflammation, you've got a little bit of plaque coming up here. When there's more and more inflammation over time, that is there's not enough room. I mean, you don't have to be super sciencey. I'm super visual myself. I think that's the only way I even got through PA school, because I never considered myself a math or science expert, but I visually get a concept and I can apply that. So this is showing us that over time, that's what leads to plaques breaking off, cause strokes, clots. You hear about people getting blood clots. That's what we're talking about there. So what can you avoid? Eight things. So first thing is fatty red meat. I know they're talking about like barbecues, and it's not that you can never have these foods again. This is just sort of a not often, not usually. Dairy from cow milk. This was a big thing for me to cut out for, half and half. Creamers, yogurts. I cut out cottage cheese yogurts, anything even that had sour creams, right? All of that. Cheese in general. I know some of my friends out there are probably going to say, no way to cheese. But I thought so too. I love cheese, but I have been okay without cheese. So no cheese. Margarine, which I don't think a lot of people use margarine anymore. Maybe some people do. Maybe for cooking. And of course, if it's a special once in a while thing, I could understand using that. This is not like a never ever list. It's just 8 key things to avoid. Hey Lee, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. So processed meats. So I grew up on fried bologna sandwiches, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that when I was a kid. But now if I know that this is a big thing with inflammation, processed lunch meats of all kinds are kind of on the way out. Hot dogs, processed foods really that are meat in that have been handled, right? So it wasn't like they just took the meat, did very little with it, and now it's in the package at the store. These are heavily handled, right? Alcohol, which I mentioned earlier, was a huge thing for me to give up because there were so many emotional things I had tied to a glass of wine or this or that I'm not saying I would never have again, but it hasn't been that bad to let go of, I guess. If that's if this Irish girl can do it, I hope that I can inspire other people to just give it a try, even if you just do the 21 day option. Vegetable oils. I haven't really been cooking with vegetable oils in a long time. I've been using more olive oils. Maybe if some of you are still cooking with vegetable oils every day, it's something to think about getting rid of. And then food additives. Oh my goodness. I had a 2-hour meeting with this nurse who teaches the functional medicine office I went to, and she was a wealth of knowledge. She trained under Dr. Mark Hyman, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's written detox diets. He's kind of internet and otherwise famous as a functional medicine doctor. His big story was he was doing a lot of road cycling. He started to experience a great deal of fatigue. Hey Lori, good to see you. I miss seeing you. I hope you're okay. I know it's been flooding a lot everywhere. So he started experiencing a lot of fatigue and came to find that he had mercury poisoning. I am a little bit unsure of the story, if it was secondary to eating certain fish, if he had been overseas eating something. Either way, it may have had something to do with fillings too in the mouth. Either way, he found he had mercury toxicity, and that was contributing to his fatigue. So he obviously got that sorted out, but then he found that he could harness power in foods to, oh good, I'm glad you guys are okay. I think I remember that your house wasn't like low-lying, but I've seen one of the ladies that work with us, and her, it's coming really close to her door, so hopefully, I know it's raining down here. So I want to get back to a little bit on what are the main things that we can do with combating fatigue, right? Because, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like every other person I talk to has a lot of fatigue and stress, and it could be the times we're living in, it can be our environment, it can be a lot of things. What are the things that we can actually control? Because these are the things that I look at when I try to make changes. What can I actually control? Because I'm not gonna, I don't know, maybe there's some utopia I could pick up and move to. I'm not sure. I think it's pretty nice here. The environment, pollutants, I mean, how much control do I really have over that? But I do have control over what I eat. I have control over how well I sleep, and I have control over if I exercise or move, right? So one main thing that I was not doing that I think could help you guys is I was probably chronically dehydrated. So water is one of the biggest things that can help us combat fatigue. So if you're feeling fatigue, the first thing you can do is look at how much water you're drinking a day. And we don't need to go off the wall crazy where you're going in the other direction of drinking so much water that you can't, you can't do anything but keep going, running to the restroom. And you also don't want to dilute your sodium content in the body. So I actually have trace minerals that I place in my water. It was a recommendation from the physician as well because of my issue. Now, other people may not need this. So if you're just doing water, make sure you're getting enough. I can remember a lot of times and months, maybe even years of being in clinic, drinking a cup of coffee on the way to work, maybe having a glass of something, soda, Diet Coke, something at lunch, and really not drinking anything all day long till I came home to have a glass of wine or something. So I do believe that chronic dehydration is probably something that a lot of us are living in. So the first thing we can do is work on our water content. And then the second thing is if you're experiencing a great deal of fatigue, it could be the alcohol. I was a big nap taker. I thought it was just me. I thought I just like to take naps. I'm just a napper. I like to nap. I sleep a lot. That's what I do. This last 5 weeks, I really haven't been a napper. So I have to wonder if it wasn't somewhat induced by not only my diet, but also alcohol intake. So 3 things we can do right away to help with our fatigue. We talked about water, talked about alcohol, and then stress reduction, which can come in the form of making time for yourself, doing some reading, exercising, meditation, but working on that stress reduction, and then avoiding the 8 foods I mentioned earlier, which can be really helpful. And if you want to go even further like I did, where I went no dairy, no alcohol, no coffee, no caffeine, no soy, no rice, oats. It was supposed to be no beans, but I wasn't totally there. But it made a big difference for me, and I'm slowly going to be able to maybe do some things with it, but I do believe that it's kind of like my new normal. And it was funny, I was at lunch yesterday with some other ladies, and a lot of other people have interesting eating habits too. So in a way I was worried socially, I don't want to be one of those people where you tell the waiter or waitress, yeah, I'd like the chicken Caesar with no croutons, no cheese, and dressing on the side. And, so I thought, why do people order like that? They should just order something on the menu. Well, the truth is, if you are working on a specific health outcome, you may have to be one of those people. You could join me. I'll be in there too with you, making that hold this, add that, put that on the side. But I think that's okay, because what we want in the end is to be healthy, to feel better. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed my tips today on fatigue. If you like this content, you can also, usually in the comments, there's a notification when I go live. You can be alerted if you're around. And I also have a business page on Facebook, Jenn Rice International. I have content over there, as well as a website I just launched, which is jennriceinternational.com. And I am excited to start bringing a lot more of this type of thing to the forefront. I feel like if I could kind of take you on the journey with me. You could take bits and pieces that are helpful. If it's not, then that's okay too. But it's amazing how we can fix ourselves with food. And because I'm a Western, hey, Keely, thanks for watching so much. I appreciate that. Since I'm a Western trained medical provider, I've been a PA for over 12 years, I was so slow to even think that this could even be a real concept. I got to admit, I thought those people, that kind of medicine, quackery, you name it, I thought of it, because I thought, pharmaceutical medicine was the way we fix stuff. Well, we do have some amazing medications that do fix things, and amazing Western medicine that does help people, surgeries, procedures, early detection. But what if we could really make a cut in this with food? So, all right, you guys have a great, great Sunday. Try to stay safe and dry, and I hope to see you guys soon.